Got the softball.
Yeah. Last game of the season.
Yeah.
How many games are there in the season? It doesn't seem like it's been very long.
I didn't start until the third game.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Good to see you.
Welcome
it's
to our
very
living
good to
room
see
and Aaron's living room.
Oh, well, you're in my living room.
Excellent.
Actually, my bedroom. So,
Oh, okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, so I'm glad you were able to get in. There was some, I wouldn't say anxious
Technical
moments there, but
difficulties. Mhm.
they say get a Google Chromebook. It'll be fun. No, don't get a Google Chromebook. It is not fun.
oh, I had one. I had one, and it was a learning curve. I'm in IT, and I
Oh
had
my
to
gosh.
learn how to use one, and
Yes.
it was like, it's all browser based. It was just different. It was a little bit
Mhm.
Well,
different.
Yeah,
for
my
somebody
grandkids
my
had them during the
age,
pandemic
oh
Yeah.
yeah, for
in school.
somebody my age, it's hard when they throw those curves at you, and
Right.
you've got to try to totally relearn everything from a new
Right.
vantage point. So, how are y'all?
You're good.
Good. How are you?
Oh,
Yeah,
we're doing
just so
wonderful.
you know, we're all over 55, so we're there.
Well, I'm 60, so
Oh, okay.
we-
Not
yeah,
that only 3 years ahead of me.
So we're
yeah,
well acquainted with the era of music that we're going to talk about here. And
Yeah.
absolutely cool shirt, by the way, nice.
oh, thank you, Led Zeppelin.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
I remember.
He
can't
has
go wrong with
a,
that.
if you watch the podcast, you'll see that he's known for the t-shirts.
Is he really cool? Here's my
Yeah.
book. Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Hey.
have it somewhere.
Excellent.
We got it. We got the
Oh,
Kindle version.
oh, right. We got the Kindle.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did y'all get do you get to see the pictures with the
Yeah.
Kindle?
Yes.
Oh, good. That's excellent. I always wondered
Yeah,
that.
those were so cool.
So
Do you mind if I decorate the podcast a little bit with some of those pictures?
you can do whatever you want to do. It's I'm ready for just anything. So it's very humid right now down here in Costa Rica. I don't know if you can see outside my window, but it's kind of dark, but there's the palm trees. But we are in rainy season, which means it rains from the beginning of May until the very end of November constantly.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
if
Yeah.
you know, y'all are from the South too, aren't you? Or y'all
We're
like
right
a,
on. Yeah.
okay. Well, in the
We're
South,
Cincinnati, but Aaron's in Thousand Oaks, California.
oh, okay. Now I'm in Montepalo, Costa Rica.
Okay.
So
I'm trying to think where my cousin and his wife just this last year moved. They lived down there, and I don't know what part of Costa Rica it is, but they
were
just
they on were they
officially.
on the Pacific side or the Caribbean side?
I don't know. I've never been.
Oh,
I know that she's owned their the home that they live in now since for like 20 years.
oh my goodness. Yeah. We decided not to buy because down here, when you own a home, it is constant upkeep and constant work because of the type of weather you're in, and you're so close to the ocean. Your house needs to be repainted every year. You will you will get mold and mildew. Your ceilings will we just had them replaced for the rainy
Yeah.
season. So we decided, we've already been there and done that. We've been married 30 plus years. So we've, owned our own home in Texas. And we don't want to work on a house anymore. We don't want to do that. So
Yeah.
we've decided to long term rent. And that way, when something needs to be done or something's broken, all we do is just pick up the phone and call and get somebody to come out. We have a 3 bedroom, 2 bath
Wow.
casa. It's very nice, very big.
You might have a neighbor here soon, then.
Yeah, well, come on down. I'm telling
Very
you,
cool.
people are coming in droves down here because the one thing that a lot of people don't know, or some of them do, Costa Rica is included in like the top 5 uh, countries included in the blue zone. Yeah, and the blue zone means it's has the highest number of centurions that live in this area because it's so healthy. And I mean, since I've been down here, my health has just turned around. I feel like I'm maybe not all the way back in the 80s, but dadgum, I feel pretty good. you know, but
Yeah.
it's healthy living.
All right.
All right, Lisa, why don't you kick it off?
Okay.
Aaron has a softball game to get to, so
Oh my goodness, sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I might have to slip out a little early, but
Okay, well, it's nice to meet you, Aaron. I hope that
nice.
you win today.
Last game of the season.
Oh boy. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
It would be our first win.
Oh man. Well, you know what? It's all not about winning. It's about
Yeah.
getting out there and doing something and having fun.
We got a tie last week. We had a
Oh, okay.
a
Okay.
doubleheader, a loss, and a tie.
You're building
I
up.
used to play softball myself back in the day. So,
Glory days.
oh boy. Ain't
Yeah.
that the truth?
Welcome, listener, to YUH with Lisa, Phil, and Aaron. This week we're kicking it off with On the Road, written by Linda Chadwick. By Linda Chadwick. Linda, do you want to give us a little heads up?
Started writing this book. I had a very colorful history in the 1980s, and I decided that I was tired of holding all of these wonderful stories in my head. And before I got too old and they disappeared, I decided to write this book and put a bunch of pictures in there and tell some stories. You know, I could have wrote a lot more, but I wanted to keep it simple for my first book, and you know, I hope everybody picks it up and gives it a read and enjoys it. As everybody sure seems to have enjoyed it quite a lot. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know you met Brett Michaels.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we're actually good friends with his whom he described, Big John from the TV show.
Oh
Rock
yeah, yeah.
We're good friends with him. He's from here. He was good friends with my my brother when they were teenagers. He'd be over at my house all the time. So that's kind of a little claim to fame that we have.
Right. He's been on
that's
the
cool.
Yeah, he's been on the show. He told us some stories.
Probably some pretty colorful, fun stories.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
On the TV show, he was a guy that would he would toss the girls off the show that Brett would you know.
Well, he was his bodyguard.
Yeah.
And he lived in the
Yeah.
mansion with them.
He's like, you
so,
gotta go. Brett's tired of you. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a little nutty. Time to leave.
Mhm.
But I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it because
Yeah.
it's uncanny because Aaron knows this, and Aaron's kind of like, he's not like me in a lot of ways, but we both agree that like in the 80s, we're not big fans of like the hair metal era and stuff like that. But you seem to have like, if there are bands and acts that I liked, at least, you seem to have rubbed elbows with a lot of them.
The
Yeah.
ones that
A
Philip
lot.
actually respected and liked.
Yeah, it you know, that was during the 80s. I don't know. I mean, you know, everybody has their own favorite decade or whatever. But you know, in the 60s, they were super influential. I mean, you had the original like arena bands,
The
you know,
Beatles.
and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Led Zeppelin and Stones
Elvis.
and all of that, you know.
Mhm.
But then, you know, you go to the 70s, but then like the 80s to me was like a standout period of time because there were so many genres of music clamoring to be, you know, heard and seen. You had grunge, which I wasn't really into the grunge, but you had the hair metal boys, which, you know, was all into the hair metal boys, you know. And then you had metal, that kind of merged in there during the late 80s and took over. It was just a convergence of so many styles of music in one decade. It was almost hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
I didn't bother.
At least it
You
is.
didn't bother.
I'm okay. I'm like the person sitting at the concert reading a book.
Oh,
That's what I do.
I took her to see Black Sabbath in
Oh,
2017, their last tour. And she's sitting there reading a book while they're doing Into the Void, Children of the Grave.
yeah.
Everybody, they sounded fucking great.
It's just, yeah. And plus, I have trouble in that situation. I have trouble actually hearing any of the music because
Yeah.
I can't filter the crowd.
Oh, it's like an anxiety, thing. I would
Yeah,
imagine I
I-
experience now,
It's
over an
not
age.
so much anxiety. I'm tone deaf for one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that can
It's
be
really-
aggravating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
people are like, can't you
Well-
hear all the notes? And I'm like, no, but I can hear the light bulb. Would you turn it off?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't for everybody, and I totally get that. I mean, like I am now, if you were to ask me to go right now and stand and listen to a Metallica concert or somebody else, whomever, it's a different experience now. It's something
Right.
that I can't. The crowd bothers me now. Because we're retired, living in the middle of nowhere in a jungle, and just that whole going into that would be very stressful for me. But not back then. I was young, wild, crazy, free.
Yeah.
Wanting to experience every second of it, my girlfriends and I, and we did,
It sounds like
There
you
were-
had a great time.
Oh yeah, there were times I wanted to sit there and watch the concert, and we'd just be sitting there sometimes, and a manager would walk up and say, "You're wanted backstage. Hand us a backstage pass and take us." But sometimes we never even got to see the shows. Van Halen being one, the very big first Van Halen concert they did on their headlining tour. We didn't get to see it. The story's in the book. We were escorted backstage into a room and locked in this room with about 10 other girls. And that's where we stayed pretty much the entirety of the entire show. The David Lee Roth's clothing designer at the time, her name was Fleur, and she designed all of his outfits. And she came into the room with all these boxes and all these assistants and stuff, and they were Mexican dresses, typical Mexican dresses. And she began cutting and measuring, and before you know it, we were all stripped down and had these things on, and she was sewing them around us, some of them quite revealing, I might like to say. But it ended up we were like the headline of the party, the after party. They had a Mexican fiesta backstage, mariachi band. They had like 4 long tables put together with every type of Mexican food you could possibly imagine. And we were the eye candy along with the brown M&Ms. We just walked around and looked cute,
Let me ask you, did they actually care about the brown M&Ms or did they just have to put something in the contract?
It was totally in their contract. Whatever venue, whoever had them had to sit there literally, honest to goodness, pick out all of the brown M&Ms. It was just
I would have volunteered for that job.
Yeah, well, I would be eating them all, but
Yeah.
it's some of the strangest things that some of these bands will put in their riders, to these venues. And that just was one of the fun, Van Halen, well, let's take out all the brown M&Ms, and they did. They did.
Don't you think it was kind of a test to see how much detail the staff
how
would,
far you could go. Yeah, how far you could go. Like Lemmy, he had to have a case, like I think it was like 2 or 3 cases of Jack Daniels for his rider, and he drank every bit of it too,
Wow.
What wasn't drank went on the tour bus, and
God drank.
Either way, it was consumed.
Right.
Oh yeah, it was good, definitely going to be consumed, whether it was that night or soon after. So,
Some of
but,
the
I enjoy those weird repetitive tasks. So whether or not I ate the M&Ms, which of course I would, but I would have loved, taken out all the brown M&Ms.
yeah.
Eddie probably would have kept you around because you kind of resemble Valerie Bertinelli. He'd probably have you around just, just
That's
remind
been,
him of his.
yeah.
He'd probably,
Mhm.
but
Valerie's super nice, super nice.
yeah, there's a
Oh
story
yeah,
there.
she seems
Very fun
Okay.
experience.
out of everybody you met, who would you be like, I want to be friends with that person for the rest of my life?
Oh gosh. Hmm.
I mean, is there anyone that stands out at all?
Well, Lemmy, number one. I mean,
Yeah.
Lemmy was a great guy. He wasn't this metal dude that had no brain or whatever. He was actually extremely intelligent. He
Yeah.
carried
Yeah.
a suitcase of books with him everywhere he went,
That's me.
and that was, yeah, and he would read all the time. He's a very super intelligent guy and really fun to know and just to be a part of his life or whatever. I was friends with Daryl and Rex and all of them since, Daryl from Pantera, since they were like, Daryl was 13 the first time we met. So, we were friends for a very, very long time until, we just drifted apart. There was a period of time where I had decided that I was tired of riding that Trojan horse, and just going nuts and doing it. And I was ready to try to grow up and walk away from the life. And so I kind of distanced myself. And of course, they went off and made it huge. I got married and had children, and but we always knew each other. In fact, the last time I seen him, my husband and I had gone on a couple of shows with SOD, Stormtroopers of Death. And we were in Dallas, and Rita and Daryl showed up for the show. And it would be the last time that I seen him. He would be killed not long after that.
Oh.
And yeah, it's very, very sad. But he told my husband, when he met my husband, they went off together and they got a black tooth grin and they were doing a shot. And Daryl turned around to my husband and he said, dude, he goes, you got the gold. He said, you got the gold that all of us wanted, but he said, you got her. And Daryl, my husband was like, dude, that's so cool. Thank you. And, it helped my husband a little bit. He wasn't always thrilled about his wife's past vocation.
That 13-year-old boy probably was madly in love with you.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he had women, even at 13, he was doing those guitar contests, and he was winning them guitars, and he always had women. But I will like to say that I was one of the long-term women that was part of his life, besides Rita, and there was another girl that he dated in high school, but I'm proud to say that I was part of his life for a period of time. Wonderful person.
He was buried with one of Eddie Van Halen's guitars, right?
Yeah. I was at the
one from Van
memorial
Halen too, I think.
Yeah, I was at the memorial and got to witness Eddie Van Halen actually walking out on stage and bowing down to a gigantic poster of Daryl and bowing down to him and, praising him, and that's coming from Eddie Van Halen. That was his hero, Daryl's hero.
But,
and he was buried in a kiss coffin too.
In a what?
A kiss coffin.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they sell coffins.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the early days of the internet. You'd go out to Gene Simmons' site and they were selling them there.
Well, if there's money to be made, Gene's gonna make it. He ain't gonna miss an opportunity not to make some dough.
that came through loud and clear on his TV show. He was always cutting deals on the side. Every place.
Oh my goodness!
Some kind of deal.
Well, him and Paul have a restaurant in Dallas. specific, just a cool restaurant that they show up at all the time. So,
Cool.
Well, I did.
and they were like one of our favorites too. We always were backstage at their show, and always set up and treated very nicely, and just always a part of whatever they were doing, back then during the 80s.
So
So,
how protective was this during the unmasked era, or was this when they were still in makeup and they were completely?
oh gosh, it would have been from 82. Well, of course, I started seeing them back in the late 70s. I think my first concert was in the late 70s.
How
But we
protective were
didn't.
they of that? How protective were they of their identity in the 70s? I mean, would you see them out?
Oh, yeah, that was the first thing. That was they wanted to create that mystique, and they could not be leaked at all. And so they knew from the very beginning what their choices entailed, and they stuck by it. But when they did reveal and everything, it was kind of a release, because they no longer had that pressure. They could actually just be who they were, and they still were the greatest band ever. I mean, they're still Kiss. It didn't matter that they didn't have, all that makeup on and everything.
And
They
those
could still
ridiculous shoes.
Oh, I saw them
Yeah.
on Phil Donahue show. There's a YouTube of them
Yeah.
and Paul on Phil Donahue show, and that's a funny clip if you ever get.
That's
It
Have you
is. Is that the one where Ace was drunk really bad?
No, that was like a Tom Snyder show, I think. And
Okay, that
like
was
Gene and
funny.
Paul were on one side, and they were like they didn't want nothing to do with Ace because he was like just saying all kinds
Oh,
of shit.
Gene was
That's probably then
fuming.
the one where Ace was drunk.
Yeah. No, the one on
Yeah.
Donahue is where they come out and it was just really weird because the
Okay,
audience
never
full of
mind. You're in a
women, and they were
different talk show.
hitting on all the women in the audience from the stage. It was like
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
bizarre.
I think a lot of that was almost marketing, if you will.
Well,
Oh, of course.
I
mean,
believe Gene when he says that he likes,
hitting on women.
Everything Gene Simmons does is marketing.
exactly, Aaron. You are exactly right. Like I said, whatever, to make that money, that's what Gene was gonna do, whatever it entailed. But let me tell you, well, he was a dog, man. He did like the women, and it was a contest. It was, to see how many women, could you be with, and I would probably guess that Gene, I don't know. I heard that his wife made him throw away all of his books and everything. We would have been in the pictures, But I'm glad they're gone. I don't want to see those turning up someday.
He
in my
throws some
great
pretty
grand.
prodigious numbers out there. Like he
Yeah.
was like talking about Wilt Chamberlain, because Wilt
Talk about
Chamberlain's
like 10,000 or something.
something in the thousands. and
Oh
multiple.
yeah.
Like, I'm
Thank
sorry,
goodness.
for me, that's not a brag.
Now,
That's
yeah. Well, it isn't, but if you're Gene Simmons, it is. I mean, that's who he is, and he made no bones about it, about who he is and what he does. But we always had a great relationship. He was funny. Like, we would cut up and do really funny things, like he would to me, joking with me and cutting out. Like, one day, all the bombs of all the confetti had gone off, and we were always brought up to the stage in between the barricade and the stage, so we wouldn't have to fight with the audience or anything. And we were standing down below Gene, and we were already picking, confetti out of our shirts and everything else. But in just a second, Gene came out. He had taken the air blower from the roadie, and he came out and stood right in front of me and my girlfriend, and whoop, and started it, and that confetti blew all on top of me and my girlfriend, and I mean, in our mouth and our ears, up our nose and down our shirt.
Nasty.
We were like handfuls of confetti, and he just looked at me and went and I was like, you jerk, that was naughty.
Yeah.
The real demon coming out.
Was that in the makeup or out of the makeup?
That was out of the makeup, I believe.
Out of the
Yeah,
makeup.
that was out of the makeup. That would have been right in the 80s at some point, after
Mm.
the makeup had come off. But uh he was really cool. I mean, and really fun. And I took two twin girls one time to the concert with me, underage, mind you, and we were standing. Well, we had been invited to dinner because that's the way we were. They'd have dinner like at the venue, and they would call and set it up, and we would show up, and we would get to have dinner with the band and stuff backstage. And Gene would be sitting across from us, and he would like chew his food, and then he would like, and stick his tongue out with all that food like in his mouth and like trying to gross us out. I was laughing. The two young girls, the twins that were with me, they were grossing out and making all the oohs and all, and he just ate that up. So then after the dinner, he comes over and he's, in his like he's tall anyway, but this was
Right.
not in his boots, but he's a tall dude. And he come over and he was standing in front of the twins and he went, twins. And I said, underage twins. He goes, and he just turned and walked off. And I was like, sorry, Gene. Underage twins.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it true that he, I mean, the legend is he cut the bottom of his tongue so it would,
No, it's totally real. Yeah, it's
Okay.
totally real. Yeah,
I love the
totally
God
real.
of Thunder. I love God of Thunder. There's a video from like 73 or something, I guess, when it was really new to them. It's like the
Uh-huh.
best version of God of Thunder, where he,
Oh,
lifted into the
yes.
rafters and it's just
Uh-huh.
hard looking, and the blood's going all over. And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
that was the time to see him. They were here last year. It's probably the last time we didn't see it, but I would have loved to
Well,
see
they
it.
say until Gene needs some more money,
Right,
and
right,
they do
right.
another last reunion tour. So,
But this, you met another, like, I'm more of a, I guess I'm more of a Dio fan.
oh,
I like Motorhead. I love
Mhm.
Lemmy too. I like the whole story about how he was Jimi Hendrix's
yes. Yep.
tour, the crew,
With Jimi
the road
Yep.
Hendrix.
crew. Yeah. But
And you know that Lemmy also taught Sid Vicious. He tried to teach Sid Vicious how to play bass. He
oh
said he
yeah,
was absolutely
well,
talent free, and
yeah.
Yeah.
he regretted that his name was ever even
Mhm.
you know
And
um,
I
that
get the
situation.
feeling that if he hadn't died young, he wouldn't have gone much further.
No, no, no. He was,
How about Jimmy?
Lemmy
No,
himself said,
vicious.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, Sid Vicious, Lemmy himself said that he was totally talentless. It was just you know, and I saw a poll here the other day, and they were saying who is the worst rock star ever, and Johnny Rotten was number one. Because none of them, I mean, even though they put out some really killer, punk rock anthems, they
Yeah.
really had no talent whatsoever. The only
yeah,
ones
no.
that did would have been
But
Steve, that went on to play with the Clash.
Steve Jones,
He,
Yeah.
he had talent, but the
Uncle
rest of
Steve,
them,
is that him now?
yeah,
that
yeah,
era wasn't
they
about
just,
the talent.
yeah, it was just they
Yeah.
wanted to just shock and
Shock and awe.
well, I say that, and what does all of them want to do? Basically, you look at Alice Cooper was the first shock jock,
Oh yeah.
and
My
then
sister went and
Kish,
saw Alice Cooper. She came home and threw up all over the floor because
why?
he had done his beheading, the
Oh,
guillotine routine that he did. Yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah, she got. At least that was a story she told me. It was probably she was drunk. I don't know.
Terry or Brenda?
Brenda.
Oh yeah, Brenda. No,
But
she was using drugs and didn't want to admit it.
I was really
Oh,
fascinated all that you had met Dio, because I really like Dio,
Mhm.
especially
my favorite person ever that I ever
I wanted
ever.
to ask you about that because I love the story that he carded you. I love that.
Yes, Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
And
Well, I
was 18 his age limit, or did he want 21 and up?
I think he wanted 21 and up. I mean, it's Vivian and I had a little romance and everything, and Vivian was the same age as me, and I just looked really young for my age, and I did,
Yeah, I
and
get it. I was 27 when they stopped carting me at the movies.
yeah, I don't know this, and this is only speculation, but I believe that somebody from his band might have gotten into a little trouble because of a younger girl. So Lemmy was, I mean, not Lemmy, Ronnie was definitely a little cautious. He wanted to make sure that he protected his boys. My two girlfriends, they didn't get carded, but yeah, Ronnie wanted to check and make sure I had to pass my driver's license all the way down the table, so Ronnie could look. And Vivian leaned over and he said, "I'm 21 too," and I was like, "Okay," and so but yeah, Ronnie was one of my absolute favorite people ever. And my husband got to meet him too. So
I've
Well,
heard that
I'll
about
tell you,
him.
That's
I've
cool.
heard that.
one thing that we did going into clubs, I would go first because I looked 17,
uh-huh.
16, 17. They would card me. I was actually the oldest. Two of my friends weren't even legal because I turned legal at 18, it was legal to go to the bars. But by the time my friends got to 18, it wasn't. So
That
like
happened.
later, they couldn't go.
They changed the
So
rules.
I would go first. They'd card me. My friends looked older, so they just wave us all through.
Yeah, there was always ways to get around it, but that happened
yeah.
to us too. When it was 18, it was like, oh my God, we're 18 now, we can go to clubs. And then I don't know who it was, passed the law, and then all of a sudden it was 21. I said, they're just trying to kill our fun, man. Here we
They
were
did.
ready to go out, and
In
thank goodness.
Ohio, if you were a certain age, you got to go anyway.
Yeah. Well, they started where they, here in later years, they'd stamp your hand, Of course, girls go out and rub it all off, once they get in there. But yeah, but it's probably a really good thing that happened to us because we were just itching to be crazy and wild, and we would have even done it younger if they hadn't have passed the law when they did and made us behave for another couple of years.
Well, I've heard this about Dio though, that he's like all these greats. Everybody that was in his orbit has nothing but these great things to say about him.
Yeah. Ronnie, when we all hung out together for quite a few times and everything, and then of course, like I said, I disappeared off the scene, and I got married, had kids, and I wasn't a part of the scene. But we went to a concert one day. My husband had wanted to go to this show, and it was Dio, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, just a whole conglomerate of different bands. And my husband wanted to go, and I said, okay. I said, I'll get in touch with Lemmy, and Lemmy will set us up. And I did. And we were coming backstage, and we went into this room, and now mind you, it had been almost 35, 40 years, close to 40 years since I had seen Ronnie. Okay, Ronnie smoked a lot of pot. So I thought his memory, there's no way that he's going to remember me. I said, I'm just going to go over to him and kind of refresh his memory, blah, blah, blah. Oh, the pretty kitty. I love cats. But
Nettle,
anyway,
this is Linda. Linda, this is Nettle.
He's cute. But anyway, I walked over, and he turned around, and he had this look of shock, and his mouth kind of like that, and he went, Linda? And I went, oh my God. I said, how in the world, as famous as a person as he was, and as many people that he met, how in the world could you remember me after that extended period of time, remembered my name, and he just grabbed me and hugged me, and then I introduced him to my husband. which he fell in love with my husband. My husband's like really tall and he's a bodybuilder, and Ronnie's this little tiny dude. And when he hugged my husband, he didn't come up like not even midways up to my husband's chest and hugging him. But yeah, we stood and we talked for a really long time and everything about old times and everything that used to happen and all the
Well,
fun
one of his
stories.
first bands was Elf, I think, right?
Yeah,
Elf
makes
you
a
know,
lot of
band.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so like there's a good documentary on him recently, just a couple, maybe a year ago, I guess. What's the guy that has the podcast? Oh shit, I can't think of his name.
is it Eddie Trunk?
Eddie Trunk, right.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
helped
Eddie
put
Trunk.
together this documentary. It was really good. And then he had been a doo-wop singer originally. And that just
Yeah,
blows your mind because his voice is just like it's like the perfect rock and roll voice. I mean, like
yeah. Like
you can hear,
you know,
Good singer.
he's like
Yeah.
he's like the most amazing singer and
Yeah.
I always say that there's so many people that didn't get the amount of credit that they truly deserved. Was Ronnie, of course. Ronnie had an amazing voice. He was a stage presence that pulled you in. You were there. Rob Halford was another one. His voice was outstanding. I mean, there was no levels of music that he could do. It was just amazing. And then you just look at people like that and wonder, why did they not get more and more and more credit and adoration for their talent? It was unbelievable.
Right. Well, and Aaron, since you're prepping, I wanted to give you an opportunity.
Doing the high socks tonight.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Styling and profiling.
Sexy. We're gonna have to let Amanda see that one.
Do you got any questions for Linda before you before you're gonna be going?
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Frank Zappa?
No, oh, it's like one of my worst regrets. I loved Frank Zappa, but I know that was a little bit before my time. I was turned on to his music by my brother, thank God. So when I was like underage little teeny bopper girl, I had some Frank Zappa music that my brother would, what do you call it? Try to like teach me and enrich my mind with. You had the Moody Blues, you had Zeppelin, the Beatles, Frank Zappa. It was definitely in that. I would have loved to have met Frank Zappa, but like I said, it was a little bit before my time. Yeah, I was pretty protected and everything, so a little before my time.
Yeah.
But he was incredible.
Right. Yeah. Aaron, it's like
constant debris.
Aaron's spirit's brother, Frank Zappa.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah. Now see, the person you'd need to ask about that would be Pamela DeBarge. She actually
I was actually going to ask if you met Pamela DeBarge too.
I've never met Pamela, but I have met the sweet Connie. I've met sweet Connie. The first time she saw me, she thought I was Stevie Nicks at first, because I used to have this really blonde, just bushy, beautiful hair, back when I was young. And she just goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "I thought you were Stevie Nicks." And she's just the most down-to-earth country girl that you would have ever met. I mean,
the correct response to that would have been, "Thunder only happens when it's raining," and then you walk.
Yeah, there you go. But I did favor her quite a bit when I was younger. But yeah, she's
What about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark? Have you ever Cassandra?
I've never met her either.
Pamela has a podcast, by the way, that's on.
She does. We've conversed, like when I was writing my book, I asked her a few questions, I didn't necessarily want to go down the same track that she did and write about the explicit details and that sort of thing. I have children and I have a husband, like I said, that I've been married to for quite some time, and I kind of would like to remain that way. He doesn't like.
in our 30th year of marriage.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 30 plus years. I think we're on 33 now, 33.
Okay.
So, but and very happily, I might like to add. And like I said, I
Awesome.
always tell everybody, I'd like to keep it that way. He knows about my past, but he doesn't like hearing about it.
Right.
He has not read the book and he will not read the book. But I wanted to write a book that was telling all of the fun stories, and I left it open for the readers to fill in the blanks. I mean, of
Yeah.
what they believed happened or whatever. I did not want to write about it because another reason, I still know a lot of these people.
Yeah.
And I know they're married and they have children. And I don't want to diss on them either.
Don't want to
I
put
think
that out there.
Well, okay, let me put you at ease. I read the whole book, and
Uh-huh.
it's very tastefully done. I didn't
Yeah,
think that it was in any way lewd or revealing, or anybody should be upset at all with the way that you treated the subject matter.
And I
Thank
do
you.
have 2 questions pertaining to that.
Okay.
Number 1, your daughter is now friends with and bringing home bands. So the question for me is, are you at all concerned about the drug culture?
No. I'm
Talk
not.
to her about your history.
Oh yeah, that was something that I never hid from my children, was the amount of chances that I took in my lifetime, with the drugs and the alcohol, and not to mention the sex. I mean, AIDS wasn't a thing during the 80s until all of a sudden Freddie Mercury died in the late, whatever.
And then it was the biggest
And
thing.
then all of a sudden everybody went, holy shit, that was a thing. We're all running to the doctors,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, did you
trying
get
to, no, I never got anything, never, ever.
okay.
But back onto my daughter, I was very careful. But back to my daughter though, that was it was a fear that I knew that she could quite possibly follow in my footsteps, because rock bands are very enticing to these young women. And I knew that. And she had dated some boys in bands in high school and that sort of thing. A lot of her friends were in bands. But when she was 13, which was one of my first things that I when I was 13, got kissed by Steven Tyler. And that was it for me. But she came to me and she asked me, she said, Mom, will you take me to a concert? I want to go see this band. And I just went, holy shit, here it goes, and just that rush of fear,
And
you're flushed and you're just going, oh my God, so I said, yes, I said, and I like the fact that she said, will you take me? And I was like, yes, I will take you. And I talked to my husband. He didn't want her to do it and everything. But I said, it's either me taking her and going with her and making sure she's okay, and
or
not
her sneaking out.
or her sneaking out and going to these concerts like we did a lot of times. And we much more wanted to know what was happening and what was going on. And I knew going to these concerts, I could look out after her. But I took her to her first concert. It was the 69 Eyes from Finland. And YUH, the drummer, he came out of the backstage area and gave her very first kiss that she ever had. So yeah, it was amazing. And I knew that there would be many more coming, concerts like that. But it was, but I never hid anything from the kids because I wanted them to know what to be aware of in the future. And that no matter how intelligent you are or how smart you are and what, morals, values, or whatever, things are going to happen and you're probably going to try them, but I hope that I've raised you to be smart enough to realize that that's not what you wanted to do, which is what my parents did, really. I mean, I did get into the drug culture heavily and regretfully, but I was smart enough.
You have the sense to stop.
That's it. I was smart enough to make that decision to walk away.
Not everybody has that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Right. I
fact-
knew that if I didn't walk away when I did, I was at that point where I could see myself and I could see what I didn't want to see, you know. And I had had my fun, you know. The 80s scene was coming to an end, you know, and it was that grunge metal, you know, and every death metal and all of that stuff. I was ready, you know. And so it took me some time, but I did. I stopped doing drugs. You know, would like to say that I've been drug free since 1988, you know, and I don't
too.
drink and I don't do drugs. So,
You
know,
lie.
Well, I mean, I have a cocktail once a month.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Sorry,
yeah,
Dad.
but
That's
I
my
went
little joke because I've never been a user.
no,
But you
I
were
went
on
back.
edibles like 2 podcasts ago.
exactly what I was referring to.
But
We got video evidence.
okay, from
I
1980
would like to have seen
to
that.
2024.
Okay, but you're starting over.
Yeah.
Those
I don't
things
know
not
how
She
many
couldn't do the
numbers-
intro. It was hilarious.
Oh, I would have loved to have seen that, Aaron. I would have loved it because
And
I
on
don't
that
know
note,
about
sorry to
you.
embarrass you, Lisa, but
Yeah, Lisa, I don't know about
I'm
you.
gone.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Go
dear.
Misfits.
Have a
Nice to
good
meet you,
night.
Aaron. Win,
Thanks.
win, win.
Yeah,
Go
get that
Misfits.
first
Thank you.
win, Aaron. Get
Go
that
All right,
first win.
will do. I'll do my best. Thanks.
All right.
Bye. But
Bye.
yeah, I don't know about you, Lisa, but those things I did try, you know, like some edibles here, not
You
too
don't
long
make-
ago.
it really doesn't count.
It just was like, oh my God. I mean, I just wanted to go to bed. I was just like, this is
That's
not
why
something I
that's
want to
why
do.
That's why
It
I
was
like them.
terrible.
Well,
I
I
told
bet
my
you-
husband I'll never do them again, ever.
I bet the
I hate
potency,
it.
It just helps me sleep. That's it.
I bet the
Oh,
potency of them
And
is a lot more.
I spent $55 on 50 Buckeyes.
Yeah, I wasn't
They're
that lucky.
the
My
little chocolate
experience was
candies,
not good.
chocolate peanut butter. Buckeyes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine was not good. My experience was not good. And
Mine's
I
been
regretted doing it because I don't know, it was some candy or something, you know, that my husband had bought. And he was like, come on, baby. He goes, just a little bit with me. And I was just like, ugh. So I went ahead and I took a little bite of it, and man, it was awful. I told him, I said, I will never do that again, ever. And I'm just not that person anymore.
And that may be your biological, your body because of your history.
I'm telling you.
See, the first time I ever did edibles was 2024.
I'm telling you that the stuff that's out today makes the stuff from the 80s probably seem like
Oh, 2024.
child's play, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I can't be around people that are doing that anymore. I mean, like if I'm going to a room and somebody's snorting lines and stuff, I have to turn away and leave because I still have that weird feeling of wanting to just and jump in, but then I get really nauseous and very sick to my stomach, and then I think, I've got to walk away. I got to get out of here. I'm not coming down on you for doing whatever it is you're doing. I just can't be in this room while you're doing it because it makes me ill. I can't do it.
Well,
Not
we
anymore.
should probably talk about your the common thread, your friends. Your friends, is it Lanice and Debbie?
Yes,
They're
yes.
partners in crime back in the
Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, yes.
Now-
Debbie is still alive. She lives in Dallas, and my best friend Lanice, however, she did pass away. She passed away of a drug overdose, unfortunately, and it wrecked my world.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still cry about it right now. I mean, I'll still, it just affects me that I can't believe that one of my crew is not with me anymore.
Well, think of you got this legacy now. She's her stories are in your book now. So
That's true. And her daughter, she has a daughter, and she's absolutely outstanding. And and I can live, Lenny, she looks just like her mother, and it's amazing. And her ex-husband, Rick he's from several bands in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and we still reminisce about Lanice, and
Yeah.
she was an outstanding person. She really was.
but
And
those are some great stories in there, just about the way all three of you interacted and
Yeah.
jobs
you're-
that you,
you're-
you took and
Mhm.
the links you went to catch up with some of these bands, like some of the, that a lot of that stuff is really enticing, a good reason for people to go out and read the book.
Well,
Yeah,
when
that's-
I wrote the book, I wanted it to not only, I wanted to explain, how do you become a groupie? What is your drive? What happened in your past? So I thought it was very important, to start it off, from my birth, and kind of explain, like even the molestation, it had an effect on me, like growing
yeah.
up and stuff, and just different things, my brothers being who they were. I had a hippie brother that used to put a backpack on and go barefooted with his bell bottoms and hike across the country just to go to a concert, and of course I started off, which my brothers were very disappointed in me, with Donny Osmond, whom I still have heart flutters over.
Oh,
If I
yeah.
met him in person, I'd probably fall over and die.
My sister had the Osmonds on the wall and the Jackson 5, but the Osmonds
Oh
were
my
the
gosh. I saw the Jackson 5 in 1975. I saw the Jackson 5.
wow. Wow.
And my mother and father took me. I was very young and a very small, petite little girl. And this black man was in front of us, and he had several daughters, and they were all teenage daughters. And he was going to walk them up to the front to see the band closer, because everybody was running to the stage. And he turned around to my father and he goes, "Can I take her?" And with my daughters up there. Well, back then that was kind of that's a big deal,
That's a big
for this
ask.
little tiny, for my dad to actually say, okay,
Okay.
and he picked me up, put me up on his shoulder because I was so little, and walked us up to the front. And I got to see Michael Jackson,
Wow.
and while they were doing Dancing Machine, and
Oh,
it
yeah.
was the most amazing thing I've ever seen,
Mhm.
And then I
Is-
went to
Like from early on, you were almost vectored to be a concert person.
exactly, and that was reason why I wrote so much about my personal life, was just to show you. And another reason was acceptance. You searched your whole life, or I did, for just somebody to accept me for who I was, and say, hey, you don't have to try to be this person or this person. We like you just the way you are. That came to me when I started going to these concerts and meeting these bands and stuff. I was accepted with open arms into a life that I had only dreamed of, and it wasn't all about sex, it wasn't all about any. It was like you were friends with these people. We used to hang out and would just sit in bars and just talk. Sometimes, that's all they needed, was just to have a friend,
Right.
and I was really lucky. My girlfriends and I we did do a lot of crazy wild stuff too, but we were very lucky to be a part of such an incredible decade, and to have the stories that we have, and to come out of it on the other side with, still, okay, and like I said, still friends with a lot of these people,
Right.
I mean, it came across in the book as you really pretty much feeling not feeling scared.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, was there a situation that stands out where you were like, oh hell no?
Oh, yeah, like I'm in a spot
Oh
down.
gosh,
up in
yeah,
Texas.
absolutely. There were certain bands that you just Motley Crue, for instance. I loved them. They were a great band for that decade. Oh my God, But I think I wrote about this in the book. There was a point when we were on the tour bus, and I'm walking up and down the aisle of the tour bus, and it was just, I don't want to get too graphic. It's in the book, but the smell was just hideous. It just smelled like nothing but a 50 to 100 people orgy. You know, that's what it smelled like. You know, the stains all over the walls, on the couches,
Yeah.
I mean, it was disgusting. And I just got that feeling, and I turned to my friends and I said, we do not need to be a part of this scene
Yeah.
because this is nasty. And I said, this tells me in my head that, you know, you're talking, they may have laid 50 girls that that night before, right
Yeah.
here in this tour bus. And it was disgusting. It was just and then there was another time.
I like to shout at the devil, but I didn't really care for their follow-up work.
There was another time that we were partying with Motley Crue again, and we had seen the concert, and they invited us back to the hotel. We all went, and we were up in the area where the pool is and where the hot tub was. And okay, Vince Neil, Tommy Lee, they were all naked in the hot tub, and there was like probably 6 other girls there, and of course my girlfriends, you know, they wanted to be a part of it. I had another girl with us, and she wanted to be a part of it. But I stood there looking inside that hot tub, and it just looked like a witch's kettle to me. The bubbling, and I could just see like herpes, gonorrhea, and I said, I can't.
Be over here in the pool.
I cannot do it. I cannot get in this hot tub with them. I can't do it because you just had that stinking feeling that, you were going to walk out of that hot tub, green or something.
Yeah, some kind of contact affliction.
Yeah. They were one of the bands that I would have never that I never wanted to bed or never wanted to have that connection with them. I like the music, like being part of the scene because it was a party scene, and the drugs and alcohol and all of that. But as far as anything,
so the realities of Tommy Lee didn't intrigue you?
No. I mean, I saw it. I mean, it was impressive, but it wasn't that impressive.
Well, it wasn't like wasn't like Netflix then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
if you saw that.
Trust me, it didn't impress me. It was okay. I'm glad everybody loved it and thought it was so great. But if you got to know if you've got something and you're gifted with that, you got to know what you're doing with it. Number one, you got to think of it there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what I consider to be
a quality. I'd rather have a quality 4 or 5 than a
Exactly, because they probably know what they're doing.
A little bit better quality band.
Okay.
Let's talk about
Weird
Aaron's
Al?
not here. I love Aaron. He's
Weird
my
Al?
brother.
No, just
but
kidding.
He hates Metallica.
Weird Al was very nice.
I know. He is.
Okay.
We share a birthday.
Let's talk about
He has to be nice.
Lisa.
We were both born on October 23rd.
Lisa loves Weird Al. We went and saw Weird Al 2 years ago now, and Lisa got to meet Weird Al. And I did notice that you had Weird Al in the book. So you did meet him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, super nice guy. It was
my birthday.
It was
my
women
were falling all over him too, right? I mean,
it was 2 of the most beautiful women that I have ever seen with him.
Yeah.
But I've also on that same list of being the worst rock star, Weird Al was listed as one of the nicest people. Number 1, that you could not find something bad about him. Go on the internet, see if you can research him. You can't find anything bad about him at all. He has kept a clean record, a clean nose, as you would say. He is a very decent human being. But I'm
telling you, Ryan Reynolds is the same, clean. I just don't think we like drugs.
Yeah, he had oh my gosh, that's incredible. Yeah. He had 2 of the most beautiful women that I'd ever seen on his arms that night. It was my birthday, and he came up, into the VIP area and came over to me and wished me a happy birthday because I was there with Brett. Brett was there, and Brett, him and one of his managers were in town, and it was my birthday, and they were there, and it was great birthday. And I've got pictures of that day, and there was all these people there that I didn't know, but they were all celebrating my birthday. It was awesome, you know. So, but
Was
a very
Madonna,
nice person.
was
But you were
Madonna there
fixing
with him
to
at that
ask me a
time? Or?
question, huh?
I was just
I
going to say, was Madonna with him that night? I mean, remember he had that relationship
No,
with Madonna? Okay.
no. Weird Al. No, he had two beautiful women. They looked like Amazons. They
Yeah.
were beautiful women, and they were super nice, but just like Trophy, right on one on each arm. And he
And
was
that
as
was
nice as
probably,
he could be.
why
Well, I
not?
was trying to build up to my question about
Okay.
Yeah, you were
Metallica.
fixing to ask me
Okay,
something.
Metallica.
Metallica. All
I'm
right.
sorry.
Talking about a great band as opposed to an okay band like
Mhm.
Motley Crue. Cliff Burton. You knew Cliff Burton.
Wonderful guy. Wonderful guy.
Wonderful. It's great. Like one of the greatest bassists of all time.
Mhm.
A
Yep,
tragic-
and we had a pretty good with each other. We were, I was kind of
friends.
crazy. Yeah.
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 But
Yeah.
so I mean, we saw Metallica a couple years ago, and it was good, But I can imagine that had to have been. You saw them in their heyday, though. You saw them in the late '80s, right? Saw them,
Oh yeah. I mean, we were right in the very beginning, the Kill 'Em All. They were playing
Kill 'Em All.
nightclubs,
Right.
and
Whiplash.
and
I
they
love Whiplash.
they
Yeah.
still flew us to Houston, and I remember I had never flown on an airplane before, and Cliff was like, he was like ordering my friends, get her a drink, put something in her, get her drunk, but get her on this plane down here to me, you know. and they did. They got me drunk, and I got on the plane, flew for the very first time, and it was great, and we had a nice torrid little affair,
Yeah.
you know, uh, he even called my house one time after I had moved home back with my parents. That's where I went when I moved back home and left the 80s scene. And the phone rang, and my dad picked up the phone, and he was just sitting there, and he was like, uh-huh, yep, uh-huh, oh, okay. And then he goes like this, he goes, Linda, there's some bass player on the line for you. And it was Cliff. Just some bass
Yeah.
player,
I mean, did any marriage proposals that
No.
you didn't accept?
No, the closest I probably came was Vivian, because I think that if we had continued the way we were going, that it might have been, something that might have happened. It was definitely very special. But here's the deal. I never had any intention to marry a rock star, ever. I mean, what I did during the 80s, it was a blast. And I wouldn't trade it, no regrets, wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And, but I never had an intention, like all these other girls, to bag them a rock star and be married to a rock star. Was not what I wanted for myself. I wanted a husband that would go to work and come home, and I would not have to worry about how many thousands of women were opening their legs to him every single night.
Right.
Okay. I wanted a normal life. I wanted a 2-story house with a wraparound porch and 2 point whatever kids, and a dog with the white picket fence, and I got it all. All my dreams. Yeah, all my dreams were answered. Everything was answered. My husband, the most amazing man that I could have ever met in my life. I adore him and I love him, but bless his heart, he can't sing and he cannot play a guitar. Thank God. You know, that because he's made every dream come true
Well, we're
in my
talking.
life.
We're talking with Linda Chadwick, whose book On the Road was a fantastic journey that we went on recently. So we're wrapping it up here a little bit, but we do something that we call the Elite Eight. It's a little game we
Yes.
play at the
I
end.
assume you're familiar with the Elite Eight.
Not. You'll have to fill me
Just
in.
that it's a bracket.
Because I'm down here in Costa Rica, so.
Well, it's a bracket. It's been a thing forever. It's more of a basketball thing. You know, like in March they do the
Yeah.
16, the Elite Eight. It's like that.
Right.
Only with in this case, what we do is we try to tailor an Elite Eight to the person we're talking to.
Okay.
So we've got 8 bands. We do, and what we do is we set up the pins and you knock them down, and we knock them down together.
We got 8 bands. I'll give they're squaring off 4 in the fourth.
2 and 2, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. Then, you know,
You'll get to hang.
and then the Fantastic Four, and then
But it takes 2 to tango.
With
Do
the
you want
Ricky
to participate? Do you want to do the Elite Eight?
Sure. Let's do it. That
let's
sounds
do
like
it.
fun.
might be
So
tough.
you're asking me questions and then I answer them, or?
Yeah,
This might be tough
Reach-
because you know them.
we're going to each vote on it, and the best of 3 moves on to the next round.
Okay,
Yeah.
So
gotcha.
the first
Gotcha.
round, this is going to be tough for you because you've already talked up a lot of these bands, but these are bands mentioned in your book. So
That aren't in my book?
that are
They are in
they
your
are in your book.
Are in my
I
book.
suggested we should do bands that weren't in your book because this is probably, I don't know, it seems a little bit mean.
Anyway,
Just kidding.
let's go. Pantera
That's
versus
book
Kiss.
2. That's book 2. Is
Book
all the
2,
ones that I have not talked about. Okay, so Pantera versus Kiss.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
I know, I told you. He's
It's a
mean.
tough one.
Well,
He wrote it.
you know,
I did not mean to be mean.
yeah, honest to God, and as much as and I love my boys, my
It's
Texas
just about
boys
how you
more than
feel about
anything in the world. But let's face it, there may not have been a Pantera if there has not been a Kiss. Okay. Ace Frehley was again one of Daryl's heroes, and he would dress like Ace at Halloween's. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of him. But I'm saying Kiss. I gotta go with Kiss, man.
Okay.
I gotta go with Kiss.
What about you, Lise?
Huh? I'm gonna go with Kiss too.
Well, Kiss
Because
moves
honestly,
on.
I don't know if I've ever heard Pantera at all. I'm sorry.
It's very heavy.
Yeah,
very-
Cowboys from Hell.
I mean,
Yeah.
I grew up on Motown. So
So Pantera moves on to
That's a good beginning. Good
you give me
beginning.
some Motown and I can tell you who they are. I probably haven't been to
There
their
you go.
concert.
Yeah,
All right,
there you go.
Dio versus Ozzy. Linda, we'll let you kick that one off.
Man, you are just like really making it hard on me here.
Yeah.
No, right? It's like person versus music.
It's supposed to be fun. I know I've already ruined it.
Very
but,
hard.
And
Because
we're looking at this more from not a personal standpoint as so much.
Yeah, I'm
can't help
absolutely looking at it that way.
And also,
Okay,
you can look at it as the era, like the Ozzy era versus the Dio era.
Okay.
Which I think might make it a little
Here's
easier.
the way that I'm going to go down that road. Okay. Ozzy, the greatest. I've had a lot of experiences with Ozzy. The only thing that I do not like is the commercial aspect of Ozzy, how commercial he went, like with the TV show and the makeup and the hair, and it was kind of not really who he really is. you know,
But
which is
Sharon was in charge.
Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath, you know, and like, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. He's going with the times. He's doing what he's supposed to do and what Sharon tells him to do. So he's doing what he's supposed to do. But on this one, I'm going to have to go with a Dio on this because stayed true to who he was in his music and stayed true to it. So even though Ozzy is a classic, he is a god. I'm going to have to go with
And
Dio.
even some of the more commercial music was still good.
Oh,
Absolutely.
get to
I'm not
Randy
saying
Rhoads.
it wasn't. It was excellent, but it was just to the amount of commercial that he went.
The commercialism. Okay.
And Ronnie always stayed true to who he was. So in that instance, I'm choosing Dio.
All right. What about you, Lise?
I'll go with our guest.
All right. So Dio moves on.
I did like his voice. I think he's got a better voice.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he was in Black Sabbath too.
Ozzy has that kind of gritty kind of voice that it's like, why do I like this? But
Ozzy's a legend.
definitely-
You know, there's no doubt he's a legend. It's just, I just don't like that he evolved with time, which is what all of them want to do. You know, they want to be around as long as possible.
Career, not
you know,
a flash in the pan.
given. But
Yeah.
I just am more of a true person to be who you truly are and stick with who you are. And Ronnie never changed who he really was. He was the metal god, you know, Ronnie was. So and Dio, his bands, you know, he always had great musicians in his bands. So that's the reason. I mean, I love Ozzy. Ozzy's will be
I
a
love them
legend
both too.
Yeah.
Looking at this, I made this really, really tough, and that was not my intention. I once ruined the party game when I brought up Uma Guma by Pink Floyd for someone to, you know, it was a party game, and everybody got pissed off at me because it wasn't in the spirit of the party. But anyway,
Pink Floyd rules.
yeah,
Philip's been known to go off spirit quite
yeah,
a lot.
I crush hopes and dreams all the time. But
He's a gem.
here we got Motorhead versus Quiet Riot. We didn't even talk about Randy Rhoads. We should have because he's all over this, but Motorhead versus Quiet Riot. Yeah.
This is the same. You know, same thing. I'm going to tell you that each one of guys in Quiet Riot, when I've known them when they were two of them when they were in Ozzy, you know, very well. I knew Quiet Riot very well. Knew Kevin DuBrow very well. I loved them all very, very much. Their music was great. You know, very commercial but great. I even knew Randy and Rudy back when they were in the original Quiet Riot in California. So, but again, same premises as Dio. I got to go with my Motorhead.
All right.
Lemmy's a legend, and he always was and will always be, even in heaven. So,
yeah. I'm going to go ahead and throw my electoral votes behind Motorhead also.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
All right, that's a sweet thing.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the last matchup of the first round is Bay City Rollers versus Deep Purple.
oh man,
Yeah, he's trying. Yeah, isn't he?
he is, because they were like, oh, that was my major teeny bopper age, you know. And Bay City Roller, I even had the plaid pants, you know, with the short plaid pants.
Well,
But,
at least I didn't. I was going to put John Wade in there, but I decided Deep Purple.
Yeah, that would have been rough too. But I'm sorry, it's got to be Deep Purple on it though. As much as I love the Bay City Rollers, you know, their talent does. I mean, it just not to Deep Purple. I mean, Deep Purple was like the bomb.
Right,
You
Richie
know,
Blackmore, Ian
Oh
Gill.
God, yes.
I love
Yeah.
Perfect Strangers. I love that song so much.
Yeah. Well, you don't, and I hear, you know, and that goes beyond that, because even their music back in the 70s, you know, was unbelievable, you know. But did you know the original Jesus Christ Superstar, that Ian Gillan was the singer
Oh,
on
wow.
all of them, like the male songs and stuff? Look it up, because it's going to blow your mind when you re-listen to a couple of these songs and you realize that it's Ian Gillan singing.
Yeah, he was a great
Yeah.
singer. Very
Oh, yeah.
underrated, I think.
So
Really.
Deep Purple without a question.
Okay.
But thank you for throwing my Bay City Rollers in though.
You're welcome.
Hey, anytime.
So Lisa,
Yeah.
you're on board with Deep Purple?
I am on board with
Okay,
Deep
so that's a
Purple.
sweep for that. That's good. It's
I
good to know it's a
was
sweep.
torn between, roller derby and I assume psychedelic,
All right,
Yeah.
now it gets.
something or other.
You thought it was tough before. Now it gets even tougher because we got Kiss
Okay.
versus Dio.
Uh-huh.
The rubber meets the road here.
Okay, Kiss and Dio.
I certainly hope there were rubbers involved.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Kiss versus Dio. God, the talent. I mean, it's just like,
Yeah.
but Ronnie, the Dio is like, okay, at this point, I'm looking, and it's okay. Don't, please don't. Nobody hate me for this. Kiss was the greatest band ever, but as far as a talent level, closest to Dio, I mean, there's no question.
No, I agree.
It's I'm gonna have to choose Dio at this point.
I mean, Kiss was, not to say there wasn't talent, but Kiss was almost more a marketing gimmick.
Well,
Exactly.
Gene-
And their
Gene
music
said-
was very
I mean, you
basic.
could- right.
It was very basic.
and I think that's one of the things that appeals, basic music. It's like
It is.
part of the appeal of Queen is that it was really easy for the audience to sing along.
Uh-huh. Well, and
Like-
everybody grew up wanting to play the licks that Kiss did, and they could,
Yeah.
But if you say play the songs that Ronnie comes up with, they're
Right.
going to have to study on
Play
that for a
Holy
long
Diver.
time. They
The
could not hold a candle to Kiss.
Beyond.
So Ronnie
Yeah.
James Dio, absolutely.
Right.
Okay. Motorhead versus Deep Purple.
Mm.
I know.
Motorhead.
God, I love you, Lemmy, more than anything in the world, and I always will. Wherever you're at, I know that part of you's with me. But it's got to be Deep Purple, just purely on the level of how long that they've been in the business and their talent. They are who they are for a reason. Deep Purple.
All right. So, Lise, what are you agreement, or are you going to
Yeah.
Motorhead?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
Deep Purple moves on. However, I will give
Throw a vote
Lemmy
for Motorhead.
a representative vote. I mean, I'm gonna it's gonna be 2-1 on this one. So,
Thank you.
but
Well, I mean, I love Lemmy, but no. I mean, sorry, Lemmy, and he'd probably agree. Actually, he would tell me to choose Deep Purple
he's
over
very
him.
well- yeah, he's a music lover. He appreciated the
Oh, God,
history.
yes.
I saw interviews with him. He loved music. He would
Yes, he
talk
did.
all kinds of different bands, R&B,
Oh, yeah.
everything. Very eclectic.
Absolutely.
All right, so here's our final. This one is the toughest matchup you could probably ever imagine. And I apologize before even presenting this. Dio versus Deep Purple.
I know, right?
Wow.
Again, and I mean, granted, I mean, they were not one of my absolute favorite bands of all times, but and I love Ronnie, and his talent was unbelievable. But compared to Deep Purple, I think that you would have to just say Deep Purple, because just you look at when they started, which was in the 60s, and they went all the way through this, the whatever 60s was left. And then they had the 70s, and they reinvented themselves and came back in the 80s. And by golly, they're still going. And then you look at everything that they did in that period of time, including, you've got Ian doing Jesus Christ Superstar. You've got the maestro on organ. Could just pick that organ up and play it as he was rocking it back and forth on one leg. Richie Blackmore. Yeah, I knew we said the exact same time, Jinx. But just he was unbelievable. But so I'm
Yeah.
Deep
Okay,
Purple.
okay, Lisa, before you give your answer,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Dio so that you have the responsibility of announcing
Deep
the winter.
Purple.
Okay, Deep Purple it is. I'm overruled once again, but come see, come saw.
Female rule, right?
All right,
I
so
do actually have one last question that I didn't get in because
Sure.
we're quite done yet. If there's anyone, past, present, that you could have gotten to know, whether it's more or less, or let's just conversationally, if nothing else, is there anybody that you would have liked to have gotten to know that you did not meet?
Yes, that is such a great question. No one's ever asked me that before.
Oh wow!
And
Really?
it is actually something that I take
My
very
brain goes
seriously.
there.
So, and we are talking music, right? Just in music general.
Yeah,
It would
because
be,
that's the subject.
it
I'm
would,
open to anyone in history, but yeah, we'll stick
yeah,
with
no,
music.
let's stick with music. Yeah, since that's what my book's all in.
Can't be
But oh
Jesus.
God, history would be much harder. But I think it's pretty easy. There might be like two people. Number one, Aaron would be super proud of me, but Frank Zappa, I think he is. His talent was so overlooked, and he was so abstract and just different. And but his talent was there. He was an amazing guitarist. Not everybody's taste. And the other person would have been my crazy diamond, uh, the Sid Barrett.
Sit there.
Before he lost, his mind, before that final hit of acid that did it to him. You know, I would have liked to have talked to him. But I think he was a genius, and I
Yeah.
think that's part of why he went insane. Other than the amount of drugs,
I love
think that he
Piper
was,
Gates of
you
Dawn.
know,
Piper
yeah,
Gates.
he was kind of like Edgar Allan Poe. He was just one of those geniuses that was almost too smart for even himself to handle.
I
And
have
I
to
think
wonder
that
sometimes if there isn't with some kinds of genius, there isn't a double-edged sword.
Oh
it
yeah.
is exactly that's kind of what I was kind of heading for. I think that you take it, and you do what you can do with it. And I think he did, but I think it just overwhelmed him. And it's kind of like Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, he was a genius, but it was just too
mentally ill.
much,
I mean,
And
what came first, the mental illness or the drugs?
that's it. That's what you got to ask yourself. I mean, was he a genius as a child? These are questions I would love to find out. I would love to ask and talk to him about. Him or Frank. Both of them, I think, equally. Very interesting people on different levels.
Yeah.
Frank. He didn't do the all of the stuff and the drugs and the alcohol and stuff like that. He was a very straight laced dude
He was
to
a
have.
taskmaster too.
Yeah, some of the
very much so.
craziness.
The craft, but it wasn't about the business with him. It was about the craft.
Right.
Yeah.
He wasn't out
Some of the stuff he could come up with. You were just thinking, he's got to be insane, but he's not. He's a genius. He was a genius. Musically gifted genius. So I hope that was a good answer to your questions.
Excellent answer.
Great answer. All right,
I got it.
Linda, it's been.
Hey, you know what? I was going to say one more thing. Sid, obviously, not only affected me, but he affected his oence band members to the point that they're still writing songs about Sid and about how it affected them. Hence, that's where Crazy Diamond, that one of my favorite songs, Shine On Crazy Diamond. They knew he was a genius. They knew he was beyond his time. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll shut up now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
No. We really enjoy talking to people.
Oh, I had so much fun. Yeah. Yes, I had so much fun talking to y'all too. I hope this was a great interview.
Oh, that's great.
2020, we were bored out of our minds, so we just started a podcast one day. And
Hey.
it's not about whether or not people are actually listening to our podcast,
But
which
they
it
do.
is.
They do listen.
They do.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you-
Well, that's cool. You've
Yeah.
got a whole new surge of the whole 80s revolution coming. And
Yeah.
and it's, it's you've got your tribute bands, you've even got the originals, coming back and trying to get in on that little surge that's happening. And I'm
Yeah.
glad. It's cool. It's awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that my book come out, when it did, and hopefully it can ride in on that wave a little bit and everybody can read it and enjoy it and
Well,
have
that's
fun.
a great point.
Yeah, and the
Where
nice
can
part
people
about
get-
it, yeah.
Where can people go to get your book?
You can get it on Amazon.com. It offers it in the hardback version, or you can get it on Kindle. You can go to Barnes and Noble and find it. One of my friends even linked me. I am on Walmart.com now.
Oh, nice.
I can't believe they didn't ban me, but I'm on Walmart.com. You can
Well,
literally
it is a book that's friendly enough for the younger generation.
I
It-
hope so,
nothing
because that was
explicit,
another reason why I wrote it like I did.
She
Yeah.
wrote
So-
it. I'm just gonna, if you're listening to this, and she wrote it in such a way that she could buy it for her own kids.
Yeah, exactly. They were
And it
rode in
does.
on a lot of the waves
There's
too.
stuff
So.
that's inferred, but not. There's inference, but there is not explicitness.
Right.
Yes,
And
thank
really-
you.
I
I
don't-
really wanted to
There's a
achieve
reason
that.
why I don't watch porn.
Yeah,
It's boring.
yeah. I like to create my own.
Thank you very
You
much.
know, and then not show anybody. Just want to create my own and not show nobody.
Yeah, no one wants to see me having no.
All right.
I hear my husband in the other room in there, and he's probably going, laughing about that. Okay, baby.
All right, Linda. Well,
I've
it's
had
been
a
fantastic. I
wonderful
knew it'd be
time.
fun, and I knew we'd
Yeah.
go over. But I'm glad that you
Yeah. Thank you
shared
for
some
giving
stories.
us a
with
little extra of your time.
Yeah.
Oh, no problem whatsoever. I just I enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Yeah.
I think y'all are great. Tell
Thank you.
Aaron about Frank being on my
I will.
list.
I will.
So
Let 'em know.
yeah.
All right.
So I really enjoyed myself. Thank y'all so much, and please everybody buy my book. You'll
All right.
like it.
Yeah, buy our book.
Say hello to your husband for us. Say,
Yes.
We really we'll have to send Terry a copy.
yeah. We will.
Yeah,
All right.
do. Please.
Have a good night.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
later.
Later.
Social.
Twitter,
Yeah, pod.
Instagram,
Yeah, pod.
Facebook.
Yeah, pod. So let us know. Hit us back. Have a great week.